Well guys, good on you. You finally released that album. Only 10 months after I interviewed you, where you specifically said the album by name and the lead single had been out for a couple months already. DCD2, making Tool and Brand New look concise in their releases since 2014. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spin Reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about the new album from New Politics called Vikings. Now this is this Danish pop rock band's third album, pretty anticipated for me for pretty much most of this year up to this point. Now I did first get into this band through their single Harlem, which is definitely their biggest song, and I did really get into that album that they put out in 2013, A Bad Girl in Harlem, obviously named after that song, and I just thought it was a really solid, well-written pop rock album. It was mostly just a really fun half-hour ride that, for the most part, knew what it was and did it well. Then later on, I went back and checked out their 2010 debut, the self-titled one, and it definitely had more of like a raw, like a garage rock sound. David, the lead singer, was rapping a bit more, as opposed to the more polished stuff that was on Bad Girl in Harlem. Both I kind of like equally, but for different reasons that I'm probably not going to get into in this video. Then in September of last year, they put out the lead single from this thing, Everywhere I Go, which I really dug. To me, it was sort of like a fusion of like the rawness of that first album with the tightness and poppiness of the second. Like, it had a really nice fuzzy riff to it, but at the same time it had this really catchy anthemic chorus just about being confident and making life work out. The lyrics are a little immature for sure, but for what it was, again, I think it worked. Then a little later, like I mentioned in that intro, I did an interview with New Politics, which is by far my most like high-profile interview to date, and I just so happened to do it on my 18th birthday when I saw them last October. I was really anticipating this new album coming out just because it kept getting delayed, and I figured they must be putting a lot of work into this, just that it keeps like getting pushed back month after month, finally coming out a couple weeks ago in August, and it's okay. Like, I have to admit, I am a little bit underwhelmed, a little bit disappointed with a lot of this album. There are some great tracks, which I'm going to get into, but in general, I feel like it's just a little unfocused, like, it doesn't really know what it wants to be at times, and of course, because they're signed to DCD2, there's a ton of overproduction going on in this thing. Perfect example to me is the second single from this album, West End Kids, which despite some decent lyricism going on in the verses, just feels really soulless to me. Like, it's got this really try hard to cross over to pop radio chorus, little to no guitar to be heard in the song, even though, since I saw them live playing this, there clearly is a guitar part in this song. And it just feels like they had a song ready, and then when they left the studio, some Radio Disney producer came creeping in and just tampered with it, and the guys didn't double check the song before they sent it off to the label, and now it's too late. And other times when the production's not just sucking the life out of a song, it can kinda overstuff it in the mix, like on the song 15 Dreams, where everything just blurs together into this blob with like these distracting synths going on in the background, clashing with everything. Nothing really meshes on this song. And the last song I'll talk about in this department is Stardust, which is like the ballad on this album. Now, to me, it could have been like a decent piano ballad in the vein of, say, Stuck on You from A Bad Girl in Harlem, but the vocals and instrumentation are just so over-processed when the chorus comes around that it just becomes unpleasant to listen to, honestly. But I don't want this review to be all negative. There are some moments where that overblown DCD2 sound can actually kind of work for them, like on the song Aristocrat. Sure, the lyrics, again, can be a little obnoxious here and there, but otherwise, it's just an example of that really working for them, with the pounding drums and that great synth loop going on in the background, and it just adds power to an already really well-written power pop and pop rock song. There's kind of a similar lyrical vibe going on in the song 50 Feet Tall, which is this great piece of like funkier pop rock that maybe shows some In Excess worship, maybe a little early Maroon 5. I also really like Lovers in a Song, which I'm getting some real like latter-day Arctic Monkeys vibes from, with the slinky groove going on in the song, the washed out guitars, the way that David sings in the song, which is kinda Alex Turner-ish at times, and the lyrics that, while a little vague and cryptic, have some really cool imagery in them. But my absolute favorite song on this thing is Loyalty Amongst Thieves. Now, I've seen them play the song a couple times live before hearing the studio version, and it did not disappoint. They opened for Fall Out Boy a year or two ago, and you can really hear that in this song. Like, when it gets to that part of the chorus, when he's like, "We are the young heart attacks," like, I could picture Patrick Stump singing that in like an Infinity on High or Folie à Deux song, and it was refreshing to hear more of a straightforward rock song in that kind of vein, but at the same time it knew when to get a little bit poppier, a little more polished. In general, I think that production-wise, this is the most well-balanced song on this thing. Going back into gripes, I just have to point out real quick that they use the 4 chords of pop in 3 separate songs on this thing. Like, they use it in Pretend We're in a Movie, they use it in Stardust, they use it in Strings Attached. There gets to be a point where they have to know that they're using like the same chord progression in 3 songs on their album, and that is just, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And the last song I really want to talk about is my least favorite on this thing, and I hate to end on a bad note, that's just how it went. Girl Crush. I don't know why they made this a pre-album single, but it's just a confusing mess of a song. It's got like these awkward, rambling verse melodies that sound like they were just thought of on the spot. These really corny cheerleader-like breakdown parts that, sure, they did use those in Harlem, but I feel like it worked a lot better there. It just comes off kind of corny here. And it kind of has that like Katy Perry I Kissed a Girl thing where like it uses that girl kissing a girl lesbian thing as like a crutch to avoid actually saying something interesting outside what the situation would be outside of that. In general, again, I'm just really disappointed by this album. I wouldn't say it's even mediocre. I think it's decent, but given how much time was put into this and all the delays that lasted at least 6 months, I was kind of expecting more, but instead it was just kind of all over the place and not in a good or interesting way. Just for the moments on it that I really did love, I'm going to give it a 6.5. So if you guys have heard this album, what do you think about it? Do you agree with what I had to say? Do you disagree? Have any feedback about the channel in general? What do you think about me standing on this side instead of this side this time around? Let me know in the comments. Share this around with anyone who might be interested. Like the Facebook page in the description for updates, and hopefully I'll see you in the next episode of Spin It Reviews.